How y'all doing today? So, I'm in a certain season in my life which made me think about today the correlation between the practice of sin, how that lifestyle can become an addiction, which can also lead to a lot of the mental illnesses that we see in the earth today. And as I was silently reflecting upon these things, there were a few scriptures that came to mind that speak on the same thing that I would like to share. And one of those scriptures comes from Romans 1, and we are going to start at verse 28. And it says, "And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable and merciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them." So that speaks on that lifestyle, how it can become addictive. Because let's just be honest, some sin is pleasurable. And everybody finds different sins that are pleasurable. No, you might not be out unaliving someone. You might not find pleasure in that. But do you find pleasure in gossip? Okay. Do you find pleasure in debate? Always causing strife amongst the people. Gaslighting, as we call it. Trolling, as we call it. You think you're not really doing anything, but one scripture does talk about the tongue being the smallest member of the body, but by it a fire can be kindled. This is why God tells us there's death and life in the power of the tongue. See, the things that you say, no, you may not be physically taking someone's life, but you can still damage someone mentally, emotionally, spiritually by this little thing right here. So anyways, earlier in the scripture, it talked about God giving you over to a reprobate mind. And when I looked up reprobate on Google, it said it was an unprincipled purpose in a humorous way. But everything that I just read, there's nothing humorous about the things which Christ is speaking on when it comes to sin. So then I went to the Strong's Concordance so that I could get the biblical definition of reprobate. And it listed depraved, which is morally corrupt, unapproved, rejected, worthless, a castaway. Okay? So as I began to delve deeper into what causes a person to go down this path, I thought about the scripture in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 through 2, that reads, "Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron." And it does delve a little bit more into what that looks like when your conscience is seared. And it talks about it in Ephesians 4, verse 17 through 19, that says, "This I say therefore, and testify in the Lord, that you henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk." And Gentile is just another term for heathen. "In the vanity of their mind, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart, who being past feeling have given themselves over unto lasciviousness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. And lasciviousness in the Strong Concordance was defined as sensuality, deceit, debauchery. So this is a very sensual person who is just, oh, I just go with the flow. I just do what I want in the moment. I just live how I want to live. And when we speak on their conscience not being seared, it's because if you notice, when you live a certain way or you do a certain thing, let's say you stole something today, okay? Your immediate reaction in your conscience might be, hey, I know that was wrong. Let's say you go out and steal again. You're like, dang, I need to stop doing this. But then you do it again and again to the point where it just becomes a way of life. That thing that you felt in your heart at first, in your mind, where you knew that you were doing something that you were not supposed to be doing, the more that you allow that thing to become a habit, a lifestyle, to become an addiction, if you will, you start to care less and less about it being right or wrong. It now just is what it is, as we say. And I'm just living my life. I'm just doing what I do. I ain't hurting nobody. I ain't stepping on nobody's toes, you know. And so we have to be very careful, including myself, because I've seen this taking root in my own life, and it made me hurt so bad. The more that I've been thinking about it today is because I've noticed that some of the choices that I have made, in which has caused me to sear my own conscience, one of the things that's been coming up more and more privately in my thoughts is one of those things that was spoke on in Romans 1, becoming a hater of God. And it pains me to have to confess something like that, because I like to say with my mouth that I love God, but God says in order to love him, you must keep his commandments. It's a lifestyle. When you say you love God, it's not, there's a scripture that says, and y'all can put these scriptures in Google, even though I'm not giving them to you verbatim, just put it in there. It's a scripture that says, though they praise me with their lips, their heart is far from me. And as I've been going through this season in my life, I've been looking at myself and I'm like, God, I have been living a certain way for so long that now that you're trying to break me free from these sins, these things that have got me in a chokehold, these things that I take so much pleasure in, these things that I have allowed to become a part of me and a part of my identity that I've allowed to take root in my life. Now that you're trying to remove these very things, it has caused me to have secret thoughts that, dang, I hate you, God. I hate that I can't live the way that I want to live. I hate that you command me to take up my cross. I hate that you want me to obey you in this area when this area doesn't seem as though it's hurting anyone. I'm not going out and taking somebody's life. I'm just living my life behind closed doors, wanting to love who I want to love and just be happy. And the more I struggle with it, the more this anger rises up within me. And I can't be mad at God because he's not the one who made me choose these things, because he gives us all free will. You see what I'm saying?